Welcome back to Mind Unveiled, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that's captivated imaginations and sparked countless debates. The alleged connection between Hollywood, mind control, and hidden cult symbols. It's a rich tapestry of history, psychology, and pop culture. And joining me today, we have Alex, who has extensively researched these claims, and Jordan, a psychologist who can help us understand the human element behind these fascinating theories. Alex, let's just jump right in. What makes you believe there's more to Hollywood than just entertainment?
Thanks, Peter. Honestly, once you start looking, you can't unsee it. Hollywood isn't just entertainment, it's a massive cultural amplifier. It's always been used to shape narratives, right? Think about the propaganda during the World Wars. But today, it's far more subtle, more pervasive. It's about a hidden agenda, using subliminal messages and symbols to condition the masses, to slowly shift our collective consciousness. They embed these cult symbols, signs of secret societies like the Illuminati or Freemasons, right there in plain sight.
It's true that Hollywood and media in general holds immense cultural power. It shapes trends, values, and perceptions. We know from media studies that storytelling creates shared mythologies and can certainly influence public opinion. The idea of propaganda isn't just historical. It exists in modern forms too, but often less overtly. However, when we talk about mind control and subliminal messages, we need to be very precise. The human mind is incredibly complex, and while we can be influenced, the notion of complete covert control is a much larger leap.
Jordan, you mentioned precision. Alex, when you say mind control, are we talking about the sci-fi version where people are literally puppets, or something more nuanced? And what are these specific symbols you're seeing everywhere?
It's not sci-fi, Peter. It's based on real historical attempts. Look at the CIA's MK Ultra project. They were genuinely trying to influence human behavior using drugs, hypnosis, trauma. While that program was exposed, do you honestly think they just stopped? They refined it. And yes, it's about making people puppets in a way, through conditioning. The symbols are their signatures, their way of signaling their presence and subtly reinforcing their power. The all-seeing eye, often with a pyramid, is everywhere, on album covers, in music videos, films. It's a direct nod to the Illuminati, a symbol of their watchful control.
Alex brings up MK Ultra, which is a crucial historical point. These experiments did happen, and they were unethical and disturbing. They showed a clear government interest in influencing thought and behavior. However, they were largely deemed unsuccessful in achieving significant, lasting mind control, and certainly not the kind of subtle, widespread programming Alex describes. The existence of these programs does provide a factual basis that allows conspiracy theories to take root, giving them a veneer of plausibility. But the leap from unsuccessful, unethical experiments to widespread, ongoing, effective mind control through pop culture requires a lot of conjecture.
So Jordan, if MK Ultra wasn't as effective as some believe for large-scale mind control, how do we explain the prevalence of these symbols Alex is seeing? Is it all just coincidence, or perhaps something else entirely?
That's a great question, Peter. Symbols are incredibly powerful. They have deep cultural and historical meanings. The all-seeing eye, for instance, has been used in various contexts. Christian symbolism for God, Masonic symbolism for enlightenment. Pyramids are ancient architectural marvels with spiritual significance. When artists or directors use these symbols, it can be for purely aesthetic reasons, to evoke a certain mood or to pay homage to historical art. Sometimes it's even used ironically, a nod to counterculture or a playful jab at these very conspiracy theories. Viewers, especially those primed to see connections, can engage in what we call pattern recognition bias, where they see what they expect to see, confirming their existing beliefs.
But it's too frequent, Jordan. It's not just a casual artistic choice anymore. You see celebrities covering one eye in photos and music videos. It's the Cyclops pose, representing the all-seeing eye, a submission to the elite. Or the rock sign, Jay-Z's hand gesture, which is a clear triangle, a pyramid. These aren't coincidences. They're deliberate. And what about the monarch butterfly imagery, often seen with celebrities who have had public breakdowns? It's directly linked to monarch programming, a trauma-based mind control technique where the butterfly represents transformation and control.
Alex, that's a pretty strong claim. The idea of programmed celebrities is a popular one within these circles. Jordan, from a psychological standpoint, how do you interpret things like the one-eye covered pose or the monarch butterfly imagery? especially when linked to celebrity behavior?
Well, Peter, from a psychological perspective, celebrity behavior, especially erratic behavior or public breakdowns, can be attributed to an enormous number of factors: intense pressure, lack of privacy, substance abuse, mental health struggles, or just human fallibility. To immediately jump to trauma-based mind control as the explanation is to bypass far more common and empirically supported reasons. As for the one-eye pose or the triangle hand gesture, these can often be seen as aesthetic choices, a way to create a striking visual, or even just a trendy pose. The human mind is wired to find meaning and patterns, and when we are presented with a compelling narrative, like a conspiracy theory, we tend to interpret ambiguous information in a way that supports that narrative.
But isn't it convenient to just dismiss it as pattern recognition? These aren't ambiguous patterns. We're talking about checkered patterns on stage floors, which link to Masonic lodges. We're talking about owl imagery, often associated with Bohemian Grove, a known gathering place for powerful figures, which conspiracy theorists believe is a site for occult rituals. These symbols are so specific, so deeply entrenched in occult history, it beggars belief to call them coincidental artistic choices. They're telling us something, embedding a message, whether we realize it consciously or not.
So, Alex, you're suggesting a coordinated effort, a secret society deliberately weaving these symbols into our media landscape. And Jordan, you're saying that while the symbols exist, their interpretation as proof of a grand conspiracy might be a misreading of their intent. Let's delve a bit more into the soft mind control aspect you touched on, Jordan. How does mainstream media influence us without needing an Illuminati overlord?
Absolutely. On a broader, less conspiratorial level, critical media theorists have long argued that the sheer volume and pervasive nature of mainstream media can act as a form of soft mind control or social engineering. By constantly reinforcing certain ideas, values, consumerist desires, or even shaping our perception of reality, media can subtly influence public consciousness and limit critical thought. Think about advertising. It's designed to influence your desires and behaviors. No secret societies required. It's simply the mechanics of powerful industries shaping culture and commerce. This form of influence is very real, and it doesn't need subliminal messaging to be effective. Repetition, framing, and consistent narrative can do the job quite well.
But that's where they get you, Jordan. They've normalized it so much that people accept it as just media influence. It's a spectrum, you know? The soft mind control you talk about makes us ripe for the harder conditioning. The symbols are part of that. They're normalizing an occult aesthetic, preparing us for something. When you constantly see images of Baphomet or the 666 hand sign, the OK symbol turned upside down, you become desensitized. It's part of a larger ritualistic display to assert their control and integrate these darker elements into our society.
Okay, so Alex sees a more sinister, deliberate progression. Jordan, can we unpack this idea of symbols being used for ritualistic display or to normalize an occult aesthetic? Is there any academic basis for media having this kind of deep, subconscious effect beyond just promoting products or values?
Well, we know that repeated exposure to certain imagery can certainly influence our associations and comfort levels. That's a basic principle of advertising and propaganda. However, to say it's for ritualistic display by a secret society goes beyond what psychological or sociological research can demonstrate. What is true is that humans have a long-standing fascination with the occult, with secret societies, with forbidden knowledge. Artists often tap into this for its dramatic effect, its edginess, or simply to be provocative. Sometimes, using these symbols is a deliberate act of subversion to make people question things, but not necessarily to serve a hidden agenda, rather an artistic or countercultural one.
See, provocative and subversive are just convenient excuses. They provide cover. Why are so many successful artists across genres using the exact same specific set of symbols? The owl imagery, for example, is incredibly specific to Bohemian Grove. Why would it pop up in so many mainstream productions unless there's a shared language, a shared directive coming from an elite group? This isn't just about art, it's about control, a kind of communication among the controllers and a constant drip feed of their ideology to the rest of us.
The consistency is definitely intriguing, Alex. Let's talk about why these narratives resonate so strongly with people. Jordan, from a psychological perspective, why are so many drawn to these ideas about Hollywood and secret societies?
That's a really important point, Peter. There are several deep psychological reasons. First, there's a fundamental human distrust of power. Governments, large corporations, media conglomerates, these institutions are vast and often opaque, making the idea of secret control appealing. Second, the world is incredibly complex, and events can be overwhelming. A simple, albeit nefarious explanation involving a controlling elite can be psychologically comforting. It gives a sense of order to chaos. Third, there's the sense of unveiling truth. For believers, it's empowering to feel they are intelligent intelligent enough to see through the lies and discover hidden truths. It gives them a sense of special knowledge or insight and identity.
And Jordan, isn't it also because people sense something is wrong? They feel that things aren't adding up, that the narrative we're given doesn't quite fit the reality. These theories provide an answer. They give voice to that gut feeling that we're being manipulated. It's not just about a desire for explanation. It's about a legitimate concern that our autonomy, our free will, is being eroded by forces we can't fully see. Hollywood is simply the most visible battleground in this struggle.
That's a powerful point, Alex, the idea that people are sensing a deeper manipulation at play. So if we look at the spectrum from overt conspiracy to subtle media influence, where do we draw the line, and how can listeners critically evaluate what they're seeing?
The line is difficult and often blurry. What we can say definitively is that Hollywood does influence culture and perception. Various forms of persuasion exist, from advertising to political messaging. The challenge lies in distinguishing between this pervasive, soft influence and the specific notion of widespread, coordinated mind control by secret societies embedding literal cult symbols for programming. For critical evaluation, I'd suggest several things. Always consider alternative explanations, look for empirical evidence rather than just suggested patterns, and be aware of your own cognitive biases. Ask yourself, is there another, simpler explanation for this?
And I'd say, don't be afraid to question everything. Don't let them tell you it's just art or coincidence when the patterns are so clear. Look deeper into the history of these symbols, the true history of the occult, and the connections between powerful people. The information is out there. They want you to dismiss it as conspiracy theory because if you truly understood what's happening, you wouldn't be so easily controlled. The symbols are their language, and it's time we learn to read it.
Alex and Jordan, this has been an incredibly thought-provoking discussion. It's clear that the intersection of Hollywood, power, and perception is a complex one, whether viewed through the lens of deliberate, covert control or the more subtle forces of cultural influence. What we can all agree on is that media consumption requires a critical eye. Thank you both for sharing your unique perspectives on this truly captivating topic, and thank you, our listeners, for joining us on Mind Unveiled. Keep questioning, keep thinking, and we'll catch you next time.